Welcome back to HMP. My name is Adam, and while I was at the gym today, a notification popped up. Linus Tech Tips has put out a brand new video, and it's about a subject that's near and dear to my heart, movies, but it's got a little something I've never quite seen before. So let's check out his new video entitled, "We Bought Movies on Vinyl, and They're..." I don't know, it kind of cuts off there. But so let's do a little something that we don't normally do on this channel. Let's have a little bit of reaction time, and we'll see what we got.
In the last few years, we have had a blast checking out home movie formats that never really took off. And in order to do that, I've ended up with quite the collection of copies of Blade Runner. But my collection could never be complete without RCA's biggest flop of...
Hold on, before we get started with this, obviously I'd heard of all of these formats and stuff before. Your most popular ones from Betamax, then on to VHS, then on to Laserdisc, DVD, Blu-ray, 4K. I thought this is what this was, but I don't know too much about this, so I am excited to see what we got here.
All time. This is a CED, or Capacitance Electronic Disc Select Division Video Disc Player. And this is, yes, yet another copy of Blade Runner for my collection, but this time on CED video disc from 1983.
The funny thing is Blade Runner is a pretty long movie, so the fact that they can fit it all on this one disc is fairly impressive.
Say, even as someone who's very pro-digital, I can imagine how cool and special it would feel browsing for movies like this. Seeing all the artwork, reading the large print synopsis on the back.
It's confirmed, Linus is your grandmother. I just need the large print, help me see. I just need to see it. I can't read. 15 size font, please.
Feels incredible.
Imagine like Bell's record wall, but now video discs up on the wall.
And it's still a great movie, but as cool as it feels, this is a terrible format to release it on, and I can't wait to tell you all about it.
Got fired? It's not your fault. The tools your company is using belong to the museum.
We're just going to leave all of his ads in, that's fine.
Apps to help your business run smoothly. Use the right tools for the job. With Odoo.
Oh, okay.
My favorite thing about these videos is that I review the script, we talk about the major beats and the comparison points, but they never show me it until the shoot. So
I always think that this is a weird way to do videos. I know if you have, something like Linus Tech Tips and you've got a whole bunch of things that you've got to do, obviously you're not going to be the one that's writing the script for all of that stuff and everything, but it really just seems odd to me that you would walk in and everyone's like, all right, we've prepared some stuff for you. Now, vamp, I guess? I don't know. We'll see.
I have never actually loaded one of these. I assume this is the handle and I just...
Pretty much. You've got to flick that into the load and unload position.
Ooh.
It's chunky.
She is chunky.
Now you pop it in. Keep going. Keep going.
Oh, it detects I'm on side one.
Yeah. And it's got
like a notch or something?
Yeah, it's got to take the whole disc, right? So that's in. That should be in. And now pull it out.
Oh. Wait.
It's gone.
Oh, it actually...
Okay, that I did not see coming because there's a lot of other different media and stuff that would capture things in kind of this, shell format and everything, and your disc be on the inside. So the fact that it kind of lets it go into the machine, very odd.
Right, that makes sense. This is just a sleeve.
Yeah, it's just a caddy for the whole thing. I miss...
It's just a caddy for it, but isn't the caddy to keep things from getting damaged? Could you imagine if you had a thing to put in your Blu-ray and it just kind of sat in there and then you shot it back out into its package when it was done? Real bizarre.
Feeling like the physical kerchunk as you load a big thing into a player. That's great.
So cool, and you don't have to rewind them.
No.
I guess we'll talk about pros and cons later a bit, but how did VHS win? By being better. We'll get to that.
Yeah, it was better. I can't imagine how expensive this was. Maybe they'll talk about how much it actually costs, but I can't imagine this thing being cheap.
Speaking of VHS, that's what we're going to be using as our first comparison point against our CED disc.
Our player's pretty old, so we've actually got to hit fast forward just a little bit.
What does that mean?
Okay, I'm not going to look at it yet because before we do that, I want to give you a little bit of history. Back in 1964, RCA, or the Radio Corporation of America, decided to try their hand at bringing movies into the homes of the masses. And what better way to do that, affordably mind you, than to...
Hold on. Harold and Maude? Who's going, oh yeah. Harold and Maude, that's what the people want to see on this weird disc format? Hell yeah.
Of the masses. And what better way to do that
Than to with Harold and Maude.
than to copy the music industry and use an easily stamped vinyl disc. It was a pretty good idea in theory, but what they thought would be easy ended up taking over 15 years to develop and refine. Now we're going to talk more about how it works and why it took so long later, because right now, I want to see what all the fuss was about.
It's got enough of a hole for a 45-inch, or for a 45 adapter. So I feel like you could just put this on a regular record player. Could be wrong.
Why it took so long later, because right now, I want to see what all the fuss was about. Obviously, it's not the most apples to apples comparison because our CED disc is not widescreen.
Yeah, and our TVs are completely different.
But
All right, I'm just going to kind of... Yeah, the widescreen VHS looks better. I mean, not only just because it's widescreen, which is even weirder because we're going on a widescreen TV here. This old Sony. I think it looks, yeah, that's wide. So it's a widescreen Sony, but shown non-anamorphic 2:35:1 aspect ratio versus full screen CED. Come on, bro.
technology developed in the 60s?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting at the very least.
I mean, this is on a vinyl record.
Which is bizarre.
Yeah, in a really layman's way to put it, yes. It is a vinyl record. It's got a whole lot more to it than that.
It's got a whole lot more. There's a hole in a record. Gotta hate Canadians.
It's pretty
Is it a
impressive.
piece of vinyl?
It is a piece of vinyl. It's carbon infused, but yeah. It's super cool.
It's interesting, but the colors are all washed out.
I know. It's absolutely astounding.
Can we fit to screen?
Yeah, we can fit to screen. It
Yeah,
just
do
looks
you
a little
mind?
shittier when
Well,
it does. I know. There's not much.
I think
we
it's
can
more
do.
apples to apples though,
Yeah.
that way. Because VHS had the advantage for a second there of
Yeah.
being much smaller and therefore looking...
Oh my dear Lord. Wow. Linus just had an amazing, what I'm going to call 1999 to 2001 take, which is, there's black bars on the sides of the screen. Oh, it looks bad. Oh my gosh. I actually once got in a fight with somebody at Circuit City. The Circuit City employee was telling the customer how the full screen DVDs will take up their whole screen and whatnot, and stay away from those widescreens because they're bad. I had to address them down right there in Circuit City, and we wonder why Circuit City went away.
a bit better, but
You can already see where this starts to fall apart. though.
Oof.
I mean, these are both really old copies, and
I was about to say you start to see where VHS falls apart with the fringing. We don't get fringing here.
yeah, but look at all the noise.
Well, yes.
Like really weird noise too. And on top of that, what also used to happen a lot is these would start to skip a whole.
What the hell is he so giddy about? What's behind the camera, Linus? What are you smiling at so damn hard? Because I know it ain't shitty looking qualities of Blade Runner here that you're like, oh yeah, crappy Blade Runner looks so good.
As soon as they've been just used a little bit.
So you might say they were vinyl records.
Honestly, yes.
Oh, that is really annoying.
Yeah, and it flickers. You see, yeah, the noise just like comes in for a while.
When it works, though,
Sure,
I think it actually looks a little better.
maybe a very small amount.
Dude, the fringing! The fringing on VHS looks poo-poo.
it does. It
Like,
does.
look at how much better something like that blue light in the background with the
Yeah.
bokeh.
Yes, the VHS will look better than the crappy disc format. You are correct.
It's got purple bokeh,
Yeah.
and it's got blue bokeh.
I can't get over the noise, man. It's driving me crazy because it just like comes in and out.
Yes, but we've got to evaluate it for how it would have looked new.
Well, this is pretty much it. There's like,
It's an old copy. It's an old copy.
fine. It's a used copy.
Yeah.
It's a used player.
We've got to evaluate it for how
But
it...
how does that even make sense, though, when you think about it? Because they're like, oh, it's a used copy, but the way that it is put into the player and everything, it's inside its little case. Are we to then assume that putting it in the player itself is going to damage your movie? Doesn't seem like a good selling point to me.
would have looked when
Yeah.
it was new. I mean, this player and disc are older than us.
100%. Yeah.
So I think we should give it the benefit of the doubt
Fine.
and look at the moments when it's not doing that.
Okay, sure. But the problem is, a lot of the times, these wouldn't last in this level of fidelity
Sure.
for very long.
Yeah.
Because
Which
you're
is
for-
really what you want from your media, is to easily degrade over time. Super awesome.
in and out all the time. They're not perfect. It's so much data packed into such a tiny surface area that like a tiny speck of dust is gonna just like introduce all this weird noise we're seeing.
But it was developed in the 60s.
Oh yeah, I'm incredibly impressed. What they've accomplished is an astounding.
It is
feat
neat.
of
There's no doubt.
technology. Like absolutely mind-blowing. The fact that we're getting video and no. You see how it's nice to go, though?
Jesus.
Yeah.
And that was far from the only challenge that CED faced. When it launched, it had a small catalog of only about 50 titles, and each disc only got about 60 minutes of content per side. So
Nah, see, that's what I was talking about. I knew that just by looking at it, I'm like, they can't hold a ton of information on that disc.
you get up and flip the disc over when you were in the middle of watching your movie, just like Laserdisc.
But man, if you had a good laser disc, if you were like, you spent those ducats on that laser disc, boy, your machine would do it itself. It just boom, second laser started reading it. Beautiful. But once DVD came along and you had your dual layer disc and whatnot. But the funny thing is dual layer discs didn't always work. My buddy and I, we were the first two in high school to kind of get DVD players and whatnot. For whatever reason, his DVD player would get to the part where they would have to skip to the next layer, and then the disc would just stop. So, even DVDs weren't perfect from the get-go.
This, on the other hand, was typically around 2 hours per tape at maximum quality and up to 4 hours at long play quality. Now, that's a big problem because these three formats competed in the market at the same time, with CED pretty much being the worst of both worlds. Video quality about on par with VHS, but with the same disadvantage that Laserdisc suffered from, and that being that you couldn't use your player to record live television and view it later.
Play.
Okay.
This is
I mean, not only that kind of stuff, though they did have some things later in like the early 2000s and whatnot where there were DVD players that could record on recordable media. That's pretty much all gone away now. Not only the fact that you can't buy those players, but Sony themselves has stopped printing DVD-R material. So you couldn't even do it if you wanted to these days unless you're finding some, backstock or whatever.
Are you kidding me?
we're never gonna get it back on because of that.
Oh my goodness, it skips so much.
I know, dude. That's how we got so far ahead. They were both playing at the same rate. And don't forget that like these have been in caddies the whole time,
Oh my
right?
god.
Yes, it's used, but it's gotten to this state while being in a protective sheath.
Ridiculous.
And being
So it's-
loaded
so it's
and
even
unloaded
worse
from the
than
player, and that's
expected.
it. People aren't taking them out like our Harold and Maude copy that is like not very good quality at all anymore. It's super busted.
So then, if it had come out first, I would kind of understand why they bothered to launch it.
Yeah.
But it didn't. Both Laserdisc and VHS came out before CED, so what could possibly have been their competitive advantage?
It was supposed to be.
It's another kind of RCA becomes like Sony when it came down to Betamax versus VHS, and then of course later on Blu-ray versus HD DVD. It's just trying to win out in a format war, and sometimes you're VHS and sometimes you're Sony, and sometimes you're RCA and you never even get to the race.
cheaper. These originally launched at around $500 for the player alone.
That's way cheaper than the early players.
Oof.
Yep. And then discs were supposed to be cheaper as well. These were retailing for about $15 to $40 a movie.
And they ended up with actually a pretty impressive library of around 1,700 films or recordings, which,
That's not bad.
considering the 3-year lifespan, pretty good.
Unfortunately, they all look like absolute garbage, though.
It's a pretty awful viewing experience, though, with the skips.
It's really not great.
The skips
It is
with the
exactly
noise,
as
with the
bad
full
as listening
screen.
to a song
Blech.
with record skips.
Yeah, and here's the thing, these are both used. They've both been played multiple times, right?
What kind of I'm tired of this excuse. Like, hey, man, these are used. These are used.
They've been fine. Our VHS, yeah, it's got some issues, but like, it's played normally. This is constantly like just fully
like that.
skipping ahead.
It could also be our stylus. Maybe it's just worn out. It's probably not what RCA called video virus, where it needs to be played through once or twice before working, because we've watched this part a few times now. and
That's
it's
fantastic. You have to. You have to warm up your disc. I tell you what, once you play this movie about 3 or 4 times, then eventually the machine will understand it and can play it out in its full quality and not skip around and stuff. Just play it a couple times, you'll be fine. Good logic.
busted.
So I can understand why it didn't take off. But while it might have been a massive failure in the market, for good reason, the technology is really cool. Like, to the point where I'm not surprised it took them this long to develop. You might already be familiar with how a vinyl record works, but if you're not, to put it very, very simply, a stylus gets dragged through wavy grooves that creates vibrations, which are picked up by the cartridge
Wavy Grooves was my porno name.
and turned into an audio signal. Well, CED works by dragging a stylus through wavy grooves as well, but this time it's the depth of the vinyl groove that matters, and the stylus, it doesn't vibrate. Instead, the signal is derived from the distance between the disc and the titanium electrode in the stylus through their mutual capacitance. That would be the ability of 2 adjacent conductors to store electric charge.
You ever feel like you're just really stupid? I mean, I know I'm really stupid, but I often feel very stupid when I have to have things like this explained to me, and we just have to, nod our heads until we hear the rattling inside to just go like, yeah, oh no, I get it. I understand what you're saying.
It's a bit more complicated than your hip friend's turntable. And it gets even better.
I'm hip.
Most vinyl records that are playing audio spin at 33 1/3 RPM.
Right.
So just over 33 revolutions per minute. To get a 60 Hz NTS video signal, our CED player is spinning that disc at 450 RPM. Shockingly,
For PAL.
RCA scientists figured all of this video capacitance stuff out way back in 1972. There was no competition. But at that time, they were only able to store about 10 minutes of color footage per side. Yikes. The original multi-layer discs also had issues, and they needed time to be refined into what we have now. PVC, aka vinyl, blended with carbon, then covered in a thin layer of lubricating silicone.
It's wild to think that this was the cheaper option when you really go through, what it costs to make it, and sounds like the process to put it together and everything, but is somehow cheaper than the other guys. That's interesting.
We actually have a regular old record for reference, and there are some key differences that
For
are
the record,
immediately obvious. It's way flimsier, but the thing that really stands out to me is the difference in the grooves.
that's just because you're not getting that 180 gram vinyl right there. Get yourself some quality vinyl there, Linus. Come on.
See, they're both the same 12-inch size, but for CED, to get the data density up,
Everything had to be shrunk down by a huge factor.
So instead of hundreds of grooves per inch, I'm talking over 9,000.
It's over 9,000! What, 9,000? There's no way that can be right!
Over 9,000 grooves per
That's
inch.
wild.
9,541 to be precise.
Man, if you didn't have that extra
At
one
this
in there, it
scale,
wouldn't work.
The tracking force of the stylus had to be absolutely perfect. Instead of 2 grams for a vinyl record, it had to be dialed into 0.065 grams, pretty much.
I think we're starting to realize why it looks as bad as it does, because when your tolerances are like that and the ability for things to get in the way, like dust and vibration and anything else like that, not good.
0 room for error. Long story short, It took them years to get to this point, and by its launch in 1981, it was just too little, too late. VHS landed on US shores in 1977, and Laserdisc came out a year after that. Now, while tape had been too expensive to compete back when it was getting cooked up, it wasn't by this time, and renting movies on VHS was getting more common by the day. In 1985, the first Blockbuster video rental store opened its doors in Dallas.
Wow, what a difference.
Wow! What a difference! Blockbuster Video!
With an inventory of 8,000 VHS and 2,000 Betamax tapes. And just 1 year later, RCA gave up on CED.
Oh
Tragic.
my
See,
lord.
stuff like that would happen on VHS as well. Like you get some weirdness. Every
You
now and then,
would, but it
you
wouldn't be
have to play
constant.
that tape a lot,
Yeah.
or you would have had to like really run it through the ringer, like someone.
Watch the same spot a lot of times.
Yeah.
What's he talking about? Whatever could he mean by that? I'm a good guy.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Whereas this would happen, you know, pretty quickly. I think they claimed that you get up to 500 watches.
I don't think I believe that.
Oh
You
my
just pop your top
gosh.
Open, looking at how fast this thing's ripping around. 0.065 grams of force.
Yeah, exactly. Between the force that you have to have on it, the very preciseness of it all, the fact that there are that many grooves in it and everything, you're lucky this thing plays at all.
Yeah.
And while I'm probably never going to watch the fine selection of CED video discs that came with our player, they'll make a fine addition to my collection. Speaking of which, are you the one working on the Ultimate Showdown?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's going to be cool.
9 formats.
We're going to be watching Rambo First Blood across
9.
CED, Laserdisc,
Okay.
DVD, HD DVD,
All right.
Blu-ray, VHS, Betamax,
DVHS.
DVHS. That's 8.
Oh.
There's one more. There's one more. I can't.
So here's the real question, though, and I am for these kinds of shootouts. I want these things to happen. That said, one of the more important things that you're going to have to realize when doing something like that is all the variables that can take place while putting something like that together. And based on some things, Linus, I'm going to have to say, you of all people are going to need to be very cognizant of all of the different variations and different things that you can, because people are going to call you out on it, dude. So hope you got it together.
Who will be crowned king of the home movie formats? And what will be the winner's prize?
Whoa, what? Dennis, how much does Linus pay you?
Not enough. That's why I started my side business with a sponsor, Odoo.
You mean the Odoo? The all-in-one business solution that has over...
Oh, I know
50
Odoo.
sign up
No,
for a
wait, I don't.
50-day free trial right now?
Oh my god, here's a tip of saying that line. Yes.
All right, we'll kind of leave this going in the background because he paid for this ad, or the people are paying him for an ad and stuff like that.
Instead of sending them back to the brand, I send them to... let me show you. Here you are.
How many things do you have here?
Show him the Odoo inventory app. Yes, sir. Roughly 69 of them.
Nice.
69 options.
And the Lambo? How much money are you making?
Or you can see all on Odoo sales app. They have a phone report.
Oh, that's a lot of money. Can I get a discount?
Yeah.
Linus!
The potential's there.
The potential's there.
Yeah.
And it's super cool. And I love like loading it in and unloading it. That's
Yeah.
great.
And the lack of fringing. I
Yeah.
would take this over VHS, all other things being equal. And no rewind.
If it worked perfectly at all times,
It came out 5 years
and
later.
came out a few years earlier and had a better selection at launch, honestly, it might have been fine.
That's funny that they say that because they're like, here's the things that were available at launch for this format and everything. But if you were a DVD guy back in the late 90s here and everything, so the DVD came out in 97. I feel like it really started to kick off around 99 to 2000, right in that kind of range and stuff like that. So I don't know. There's a lot of different options and stuff that are out there, but you gotta treat it right.
Just came out, it's too little too late.
If you guys enjoyed this video, maybe check out the one we did on Laserdisc video. This failed to catch on, but honestly, I think deserved a better fate. It was so far ahead of its time.
It was indeed. I'll link this video below. Go by, leave Linus a like, and subscribe to him. Chances are you already are if you're a YouTube head and everything. Interesting video, but I gotta say, I am super happy to have 4K discs now. They're certainly not perfect, and getting the good transfers over and everything is a difficult task. But boy, oh boy, will I take it over VHS and, you know, whatever the hell this stuff is. So that is it, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Go give Linus a like and subscribe as well here. Leave a comment for your mom below, and we'll see you next time.